Hello, welcome to the Platonic Studies channel. This is the first video in an ongoing series of videos dealing with Plato's Euthyphro.
Socrates, ude avtos panotiginosko o Euthyphron ton andra, neos cartis moi phainatai kai agnos. Onomazus in mentoi avton os egomai meliaton, estide ton diemon pitevs, etina no ecis pitea meliaton oion tetanotrica kai upano eugenion epigrup non de. Socrates, and I myself do not quite know the man, O Euthyphron, for he appears to me to be a certain youth and unknown. However, they call him, as I think, Meliaton, and he is of the demi Piteus. Perhaps you have a Pythian Meliaton in mind, the sort with long hair and not very well bearded, and with a crooked nose. In this section, Socrates reveals who it is that is indicting him. He says, and neither do I know him quite well. Ude is and neither, so it's ude. The de in this case is not but or and, it's just a connecting particle that is often employed when the narrative is continued. Autos is often used as a magnifier for the person that's already contained in the verb. So in this case, as we can see, the verb is ginosko, and the ending is o, so that means it's a first person singular, I. So avtos ginosko is I myself know. So neither do I myself know very well or quite well. Pano means quite or very. Oftentimes it takes t at the end, and in this case t is adverbial, and it basically means little or very little in this case. So I myself know him very little. The man, this is the direct object in the accusative, so I know the man. So put the negative in there, so it would be I myself do not know the man. Direct object. Accusative. This is vocative for Euthyphron. Oftentimes the particle o will be put in front of it as a interjection. Neos gartis. For or because a youth, a young man. Tis. Tis is indefinite article, so it's saying an unspecified young man. In this case, it is specified later, but right here it's meaning an unknown or insignificant young man. Appears, phainatai, moi. Oftentimes, phainatai appears with moi. It basically means I think, or it appears to me, if you were going to think of it passively. And this is a conjunction, a further description of the young man. And this word basically means unknown or basically not known, agnos. It's similar to gignosko, but it's got the a privative at the front. The a privative means it negates what the base of the word is. In this case, it's a third declension noun. So it looks a little weird. It almost looks like an adverb. Os is the usual ending for an adverb, but in this case, it's third declension. The next sentence is onomazusin, they call. This is third person plural, they call. Onomazo would be first person. Mentoi avton. However, him. So, however is this part. However would come first. They call him. So, mentoi oftentimes will come second, be the second word in the sentence. So, in this case, onomazusin, mentoi. Mentoi is the second word. The direct object of onomazousin is avton, so it's accusative. So it means, and however, they call him. And then Socrates interjects this, which basically means as I assume or I suppose, meliton. This is in the accusative. It would be melitos in the nominative. So these two go together. These two go together. Avton, meliton. And so they call him meliton. And he is of the demi-pitevs. He is of the demi-pitevs. This basically is a common construction, estin plus the genitive, which means he belongs to or is of, in this case. A, in this case, usually means if, but in this case it means perhaps. So perhaps someone you have in mind. No is in mind. Someone, tina, indefinite article, accusative. So perhaps you have someone in mind. This part, Pythian meliton, accusative, direct object. So it goes with this right here. And this part, this word right here, oion, is of the sort, but oftentimes it's used as the word like. So perhaps you have someone in mind, a Pythian meliton, like, or such as. In this case, I think it has more of the flavor of such as a long-haired and not very well bearded. Once again, conjunction kai, so and or also. And then crooked nose. Crooked nose is another description of him. Epigroupon. It's interesting that he has the day at the end here. Euthyphron. Uk enoo o Socrates. Aladiatine graphian sege graptai. Euthyphron. I do not have one in mind, O Socrates. But what is the indictment that he has indicted you on? Next, Euthyphron responds to Socrates and says, I do not have anybody in mind. Not enoo. This means to have in mind or to propose or think or recollect even in some cases. But in this case, you could just go with have in mind. So I do not have in mind, and it's assumed the word would be anybody, tina. So I do not have in mind anybody that is a Pythian meliton. A person named Melitos from the demi of Pythievs. This is often used to introduce a new strain of thought or a furthering of a strain of thought. So aladye is often used to move on to the next thing or change subjects. So it's got die, which makes things very precise, and then ala, which is a particle or a conjunction that's a contrasting conjunction with what comes before. So, but indeed, what indictment has he indicted you on? So this is an interrogative, and this is accusative for indictment, graphien, and se gegraptai. This is past perfect of the word grapho. So what has he indicted you on?